extend our thanks to, first and foremost, the gathered people of the Yarra Nation, to elders, past, present, and emerging, on whose land King Street Gallery is located. So as you all know, today you're here to listen to Lucy Culliton, Elisabeth Cummings, Euan Macleod, and a special guest, Michael Kempson, who is the master printmaker of Cicada Press, and who did these beautiful monotypes for Elisabeth, and he'll be talking a little bit about the process. So without further ado, as they say, welcome to our artists. Thank you very much for coming, and to Michael for coming as well. Euan will be conducting the talk. And also thank you to Kitty and to Tula for attending.
Amazing to see how many people have come along. These guys are very popular. They said no, they were going to see Michael Kempson. Didn't know he was coming. No, but anyway, they are utterly amazing people, amazing artists, and yeah, it's an honour to do this, even though it's the first time I've done it. And got Richard Moorcroft in the he's in the audience, he's ready to take over of like I don't know, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to lose it, but you know, there's all sorts of possibilities, which could be really fun. And Richard can step in because
he's good at it.
He's very good at it, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, why didn't you ask Richard? That could be the first question. I don't know. I just wanted to do a quick intro. I think one of the lovely things about King on William is I think the artists get on really well. I mean, I get the privilege of showing waters for a long time, and I'm not going to talk about myself, that sounds like that. It's not about me, it's about them. And they were kind of like function like a family, and I think King on William, that's what attracted me to this gallery. I think everybody are really good friends. We all get on really well. A lot of the reason, a lot of what we do is artist trips. That's been one of the things that's been kind of a wonderful thing. We've been on one together. I don't think we've been on once together. The three of us. I think it's only once.
Yeah, once.
Yeah, we should change that.
To the Flinders Range.
Could be anywhere.
What it was?
I see what you mean.
That's where our country was. The Flinders.
But together on separate trips, we've been on many trips, and they are the most wonderful thing. They're a lovely way of getting to know each other. Fantastic. I think what you could also say about these two is their art does the talking. Their go on artist trips with these two, usually, well, certainly Lucy, by the time I woke up, she's already done about 4 o'clock painting. Since the crack of dawn, Elizabeth probably starts later and catches up pretty quick, you know. But both of them they don't wander around going, you know, that's pretty mean doing that. No, I'm at the same camp, yeah. So they're both very direct in their work. They both don't need any kind of keying up or anything. They're right into it. And both of their works very much about what's around them. That's the other thing I'd say. A love of what's around them. A love of the world they live in, the things around them. I mean, a lot of artists, anyone in the audience, you'll probably know, you're kind of looking with your eyes open all the time, thinking, ooh, I could make that, I could make that, I could make that, maybe we'll let these two do anyway. And the last thing I'd say is, well, the generosity towards other artists. Two last things, the second last thing is a love of other people and a support for other people, especially with master classes or teaching. Both of them have taught for quite long periods of time. And we will ask questions of them. I'm not going to go on for the whole time. Well, just about half an hour, is that all right? I talk for half an hour. So both of them are incredibly supportive of sort of emerging artists. I guess that's a better word. It's not necessarily younger artists, because it's emerging artists.
Older artists need help too.
Absolutely. We all need help.
Yep.
Everyone needs help. And I mean, somebody said to me, they don't know Elisabeth, but they were in awe of the fact that I knew her. You know, and she was at my friend's opening, and my friend was a nobody, and she was at the opening and supported her, and I thought, yeah, that is really wonderful. It meant so much to this person that Elisabeth had bothered to come along to her opening, and that's the same with Lucy. And the last thing I'd say is, with both their work, you just are engaged in the look of the work. There's the passion, the mark making, just love the possibilities of paint, the way they use the paint, the joy of it, is just emanates from the work, and I think that's probably why most of you guys are here. So I'm going to start off the questioning by asking a question about, and I guess I know the answer, but anyway, I'll ask it anyway. How do you both feel about talking about the work and writing about the work? Elisabeth first.
Oh.
Lucy first.
Okay, I hate writing about my work. When you have to do an art statement about a painting, it's, why did I do a painting? The painting's supposed to say what I want to say, and I don't need to say more, I don't think. And public speaking, it goes part of showing. You just end up having to rev up and do it. It's not, spend a lot of time on our own, in our own space, doing our own thing, and then to come and talk to everybody else. The only thing is that everybody's here because they're enthusiastic, so it's a really lovely support. I'd hate to, I'll say once, I opened an art exhibition at Mossman High School, and everybody had said something before me. I had nothing left to say, and it was bloody awful because all I could say is thanks for coming, you know, what a great show, and you know, enjoy the rest of the night. So this is very, very different because we're talking about ourselves and our own work.
Yes, well, I've mostly tried to avoid but it's lovely that you're working and they're coming. And yes, I don't particularly like it. I'm not very good at it. I just hope the work speaks for itself.
You're better, absolutely better at doing it, aren't you, both of you?
Yeah, yes, than talking. And what about writing about it?
Oh,
Tell me,
no.
What I just hint at though, is because I think, like in theory, you shouldn't have to talk about your work, and certainly a lot of people's art doesn't need talking about it, and I don't necessarily think needs to do. But look around you, look how many people have come, and they want to know something, and I just wanted to think, what do you think you can give the people? What can you tell them? Elisabeth, we'll start with you. What do you think they might want?
Oh, well, all I can really say is just keep on going. You just keep on working if you're interested in it. There's always something to take you further, and that's all I can say.
No, that's good. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to hint at is, because I always think we shouldn't, in theory, have to talk about our work, but the fact that the public are so interested, and people are so interested, and they obviously get a lot out of it. I mean, I guess you guys have been to hear other people talk about your work, and so you've obviously found it interesting enough to come back again. And I guess I was trying to draw that out, but maybe it's not enough to that. And maybe you guys can talk about, you can ask questions later on too. Probably too hard at the moment to do it while we're doing it. But maybe we'll certainly, I want to have time at the end for you guys to ask questions. Because you might find mine pretty boring, but anyway, yeah. I just think it's great that you are all here and you are all interested, and it fascinates me, I suppose, why.
You could ask us.
Yeah, well, does someone want to sing out why they think, what do you think you're hoping to get, or what are you hoping to get from today? Somebody said they were going to answer it. No? Oh, yeah.
I'd like to know what the attraction of the mono prints.
I'll answer all those questions. I guess it's just a sort of more of a general question about
Why you came?
We'll definitely come back to that. Yeah, we're definitely going to do the mono. Yeah, moving on. Richard, I think you're ready. Okay, so what I thought is the connection between these two people, other than that they're wonderful artists and wonderful people, is this exhibition is paper. It's a show based on paper. Now, I also love working on paper, and I wanted to you both to talk about why you all working on paper, maybe including the sort of, there's a lot of talk about paper being an inferior surface to work on, maybe having a bit of a think about that one, and the issue of framing too.
Oh, I think paper is wonderful in a way. It's wonderful.
Louder?
It's wonderful in drawing.
Just close.
Yeah. Yeah. With all the different mediums you can draw with, it's wonderful. I remember doing an animation with friends, and we had one bit of paper, big, strong up bit of paper, and we worked and worked and worked. We all 5 of us worked on that one bit of paper for quite a long time. Gave it a huge bashing, and it still survived. And we rubbed and added and with pencil, and didn't use ink. We used charcoal and pencil, soft mediums, and it was amazing what it could put up with. And that's one of the things I admire about paper. It's not really fragile. You've got to treat it with respect, but it can take a lot of actions.
Yep.
Okay, so normally I would paint on boards, my preferred medium, but there's something about paper which is so easy to transport and is a cheaper version of board, and you can have a stack of it and you can just crack it off when it doesn't work, or you can paint over it and have another go. And when I'm travelling, will always take some paper, and my go-to is gouache. So all my little paintings in here are all gouache rather than watercolour, because you can, there's no rules, you can just put more paint on top of the paint, and because it's opaque, it's brilliant. The only thing about, you also mentioned framing, the only thing about paper is generally, because it is a little bit fragile, it has to be framed, which means a lot of artworks don't actually get to see the light of day. They just go back in the drawer or stay in the sketchbook because they've got to be protected. And it costs quite a bit to frame artwork. So a work on paper, which is never worth the same amount of money as oil on board, you know, what would you prefer to frame and sell? Probably the oil on board as opposed to the works on paper.
There is an option, I guess the other option is pinning work directly onto the walls. I mean, how do you feel about that? Is that something that you feel is okay to do?
I think so, but you know, when you're in your own studio, you do it all the time. Yeah. But I'm supposed to frame it and put that in the world. Yes, that's necessary.
I guess what I'm hinting at is that it's such an intimate surface. I mean, I think most artists, when they're talking about paper, they talk about the intimacy of it, the beautiful surface. And then you put it behind glass. I mean, do you think that there's a problem with that?
Yeah. Well, it's the only way really to show it to the world, if you're going to do that. Otherwise, you put it up in your own space. But I guess it's true on the paper itself, it's so beautiful, the warmness of paper.
Yeah, and I guess you could pin up work and people can choose whether they pin it up behind or they frame it.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, do you guys think if you see a work on the wall and it's unframed, does it put you off, or does it, you know, you feel happy about it? What do you reckon in terms of, I mean, I guess a gallery likes the work to be framed, but as an artist, often there is this issue where you have a big show and you frame all the work, It's quite an expense, huge expense. I guess a lot of artists would think about that. Maybe this is too personal, so it's my issue, not anyone else's. Too bad. Okay, we're going to get on to the idea of collaboration, and which of course is where the printmaking comes in. So, how do you both feel about collaboration, and do you like working with other people?
Well, the opportunity to work with Michael and his, in the past, students and now his young helpers is fantastic. It's been so good. Yes, one shares a lot with them, both learning and absolutely.
Okay, it's been a long time since I've done printmaking. There's a couple of lithographs up in my cactus that I made with Peter Lancaster 20 years ago in Melbourne. But I just feel very, very excited because we've just organised for Michael to come down to me and get my old, I've got a printing press at home, and we're going to well that up and get it going and going to do some printmaking. Excellent. I'm very excited.
I guess just to draw you out a little bit more, mainly Elisabeth, in terms of the collaboration, do you think that it pushes you in different areas? Do you think it sort of informs working with someone else? Do you think it kind of helps your own work?
Oh, yes, well, working with Michael, certainly, his input has been incredible. And then with the students, when you're working with students like that closely, you've seen different things they do, and of course, it's a brush up. I think it's very, very special.
Okay, well, what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to Michael, and he's going to talk about, there's a lot of to-ing and froing about what is a monoprint. Is it a print? Is it an original work? What is it? What's the difference between a monoprint and a monotype? When I was talking to Michael about it, it's quite confusing for me, so I think he described it pretty well. You did.
Nothing like a bit of pressure. Mike, can I just come back to the points about collaboration first and just offer some context to that question, because Euan himself is working in collaboration with me. So I run a workshop called Cicada Press. I did it at the University of Wales for close to 20 years, but I've been working with Elisabeth for a long time. But I work with 200 different artists, but I've tried to position the making of prints with artists of this stature by aligning it educationally, so involving students in that process. And for many visual artists, their working routines are profoundly solitary. And the opportunity to work in a public domain, like a teaching institution, provided them, and particularly people I work with, who are many of them not conversant in the technical issues of printmaking practice. So our students saw these artists working in an unfamiliar medium, but knowing their content. And our job, my role in this context, is as a facilitator to help them craft the production of their work in an unfamiliar medium with the support of the students in which we work with. Those students benefited from seeing these artists working, from meeting them and seeing their process publicly. The artists' part of the arrangement was that they agreed to work publicly and provide insight into what they were doing. And it worked for many years to be a really popular course and a popular dynamic, so much so that many of my former students continue to work with us now that I've relocated at home. In the context of this exhibition, there are two wonderful lithographs from Lucy made by a fantastic master printer, Peter Lancaster, This is quite a complex printing technique, developed in the late 1800s by Elisabeth but using the principle of grease, the principle that solvent or grease doesn't mix with water, and you will create an image on a stone or a plate, drawing with a greasy crayon. Where you make that greasy mark after processing, that mark holds ink, and water is used to wash the rest of the printing matrix to reject ink, and then you print your images accordingly. The fact that there are multiple colours there means there's multi-layers of stones. So the act of collaboration, which is really the point, involved the harnessing of certain skills from the artist and from the printer to create something new. And that's often the magic in a collaborative working relationship. In the context of Elisabeth's work, we've made entirely open to etchings with her for many, many years, and really amazing things, as well as with Euan also.
Not about me.
No. But in the context of this exhibition, Elisabeth's made a series of monotypes, and there's a subtle difference between monoprinting, to come back to your question, and monotypes. Monotypes are images created on a printing matrix that isn't additional. So it's a unique state or one-off motive. A monoprint can be made on a matrix that has the potential of being additional, and that's just a subtle difference between the two. Did you want me to talk a little bit about the process of the watercolour monotype?
I think it'd be great. Yeah, you guys keen on hearing about that? It's fascinating.
So the watercolour monotype process was a technique shown to me by one of my former students. Culliton and Euan. It runs a wonderful print workshop in Chiang Mai, in Thailand, and he's developed this technique. He's very generously shared with me, but I've shared with a lot of people here in Australia. But it made a connection between painters who can work with watercolour or gouache, and using a printing process to make it just a little bit different. It changes the quality of the watercolour look about it, and it's obviously a motive made on paper, and it connects a couple of processes. Do you want me to get into gritty detail? Okay. So we work on a commercial offset printing plate. It's lightly grained on one side, and smooth zinc on the other, and they're designed to wrap around printing drums on printing machines. So they're cheap and accessible. I get them from Thailand actually. They're much cheaper, big, and I just cut them down to the formats that you see here printed. We on the tooth layer, which acts like paper. It holds the image, has a resistance to a brush, which is useful. But we have the technical challenge of transferring a watercolour image from a matrix onto paper. So the first thing I do is I use gum acacia in liquid form, and I paint it onto the surface and buff it down so it's a very thin layer. As soon as that's dry, the artist applies their image onto the plate. That can be done very quickly, as it often is in my experience with Elisabeth. And both my students and myself love watching Elisabeth's work, because it's great to see someone with a catalogue of marks and strategies for working that is constantly invented. What we do get the pleasure of seeing is Elisabeth unfolds her sketchbooks, and we get to see some of the most amazing things in those. That's a privilege to see that. She often then just puts it away and works from the memory that she experienced with making those sketches. Once the work is done, the watercolour has to dry. So often Elisabeth would pull big washes of watercolour. Even the subtlest of marks will print. That's the beauty of the technique. Often that watercolour dries, and then other marks may be applied over the top of it. It's very hard, if you're familiar working with watercolour, it's very difficult to make a mark with wet and then work something over the top of it until it's dry. So as soon as it's dry, you can build up other layers, and once the image is complete, we let it dry naturally, and then for some wacky reason, I mix up relief printed transparency with a little bit of opaque white and a tiny amount of intaglio raw umber, and that raw umber just warms the transparent off-white. And when we apply that over the plate, after mixing it with lots of refined linseed oil, it ends up giving just a subtle film that unifies the image and separates it from the backing sheet that we printed it from. I'm sorry I'm going into a little bit more detail. We then place the plate on the bed of an etching press. That etching press is like a ringer action. For those who don't know it, like two rollers, a bed that traverses it, and we run it through the press a couple of times, and the pressure generated from that press forces the watercolour to transfer onto dampened paper. We then gently peel it off and then flatten the sheet over a process of a couple of weeks.
They like it. They really like it. I just wanted to kind of add to that by what it is you like about doing that, because you could just do watercolours on your own, couldn't you?
I know, but it's different. That's the fascinating thing. And when you work with the watercolour onto the grey surface, which is already sort of white. So you really haven't got a true idea of what's going to happen. And so you're working on the grey, and generally on a 1 or 2 or 3 goes, and then it all dries and then takes over. And I just love seeing what comes out, because it's often unexpected. It's different from the watercolour itself.
We also crack the whips a little bit with Elisabeth, because you're juggling often 4 or 5 images at once, and that's great to see. They wash down there, they come back to another piece, and they come back to that, and you get a fair amount done in a day, don't you?
Well, yeah, it's split much for what comes down. And I've got my sketchbook, and I generally prefer that. Yeah.
You'll think of microphone. My partner's a jazz singer, so I know about microphone technique.
That's right, before good.
And the other thing is you mentioned sort of surprise and chance. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, it's like, there are certain other things I do, painting pots, don't know what it's going to really look like. And also with it, you really don't know what it's going to really look like. And that's the delight of it too. And also the unexpected things that happen. And it is different in watercolour. It picks up every little nuance, every subtle little touch, which is fascinating. But it still has that lovely quality freshness of watercolour, and the transparency of watercolour is beautiful medium and a beautiful technique. I didn't know you got it in China.
In Thailand.
Thailand. Oh, yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, I think that idea of sort of slightly being out of your comfort zone is a really interesting one. How about that for you, Lucy? Is that something you can bring into your work?
I've had a go at monotypes, but quite a long time ago, and mine was a lot simpler, where I just painted oil paint on plastic sheeting, and then paint and put that through a press. After I saw Michael Kempson's amazing show at the Art Gallery of New South Wales 20-something years ago, that very inspiring. Anyway, I loved it because it was so accidental, and you had to go with what came out. You had a lot less control. Whereas when we're painting all the time, we kind of get good at painting, and you sort of learn your marks and how to mix your colours and stuff. So the monoprint types, one-offs, monotypes are quite exciting.
Yeah.
And you can make a whole heap. Doesn't matter because it's all on paper instead of and you can get it on paper.
I think just the thing I've stressed is that a monotype is a one-off. And I think there's a lot of misconception out there about printmaking. I think Michael would agree with that, where we've got digital prints which are produced in a totally different way, and they kind of muddy the water a little bit. Because if you think in terms of those lithographs, they're not done like that. They are very complicated. The process is very complicated. Same with the etchings. Elisabeth does a lot of absolutely beautiful etchings with Michael as well. And I don't think people kind of realise the sort of work that goes into them, and I think it's worth stressing, really worth stressing that, and worth stressing the fact that these are monotypes, they're one-offs, they're not multi-prints, they're not done photographically. Okay, the next aspect I was going to say, I can start off with Elisabeth, the social side of it all. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that's lovely for me. I mean, there's usually the three of us, we go to Printmaking together. We try and go on Fridays most of the time, but how do you find that?
I love it, yes. We'll go with you in the car. and then Chris sometimes, and then the time with Michael and the young printmakers that we work with, and then having lunch together. It's all good.
It's really good,
yes,
isn't it?
We enjoy the day.
I guess what I'm sort of hinting at is that social aspect, because painting can be quite a lonely experience, and how important for you is it to for that social side of it?
Yeah.
Both of you.
Yeah. Well, it's very important. I
Right, so I look forward to catching up with other artists, that's for sure. Yeah, I spend a lot, because I'm down south, I am far away from most people, and I certainly don't have a workshop that I rock up to and have social times real.
But you've got Elizabeth and Audie's.
I've got a great support crew.
How about artist trips? How do you find artist trips? How important is that to you?
Yeah, that has been really important, especially in my younger painting days. It was really fantastic hanging out with a bunch of other artists, and as Chris said, quantity, not quality. So
This is Reg Mombassa, who does a lot of printmaking with Michael as well. So
yeah, so there was a bit of a competition. How many of you made today?
He always wins, unfortunately.
Yeah, he always wins. But anyway, so that I really enjoyed that. I now have engrossed myself in my place down south, and it's quite hard to get away because I'm embedded where I live with too many animals and a big garden and a studio that's very comfortable. So it's really, really hard to get me away nowadays.
Do you want to talk about artist trips a little bit?
Oh, I love Artist Kitchen. I've been on many different places.
What is about them you like? What do you get from
Well, I love going to new countries that I don't know, and the excitement of that and the exploration of that is always good. But it's also good to do it with other people and see what they're doing and sharing at night and talking about things. Yes,
We slept together when we went to
What goes on? What stays on I guess the other side of it that I really love is it's really interesting seeing how other people work, and it's quite fascinating watching. We do have the procrastinators that sort of wander around. Remember Angus? He was sort of like, and then of course then he did beautiful stuff. But I don't think any of us three worry too much about procrastinating. We're pretty much into it. Iris says you have to spend, I don't know, how many weeks do you have to spend walking the country before you're allowed to start. But you know, there's a lot of different theories, and everybody works in different ways, but you're actually kind of fascinating watching other people. But usually we do it pretty much on our own, don't we?
Yeah, well, we had that time on our own.
Yeah, you make a painting by yourself,
Yeah.
but
And
we
then
all
we
get
share.
together. Yeah, we certainly lots of meals together.
Yeah, share stuff.
There you go.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking in terms of how long have you two known each other? How long have you been friends? I think that's quite interesting.
Well, Lucy was a student of mine, way back.
Yeah, well, yeah, in first year at
We
East
need
Sydney.
this.
And she was already an accomplished painter. I had nothing to teach her.
When I started teaching at the National Art School, Lucy had just finished the year before, and I heard many tales about this Lucy that had just left and how good she was. So she was sort of already immortalised there. And I think Ray had picked you up from art school, hasn't he? Which
Yeah,
is,
pretty much.
yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then we had the printers.
Yeah, then we went on trips together.
Anyway, both of you live in the country, which is interesting. Wedderburn, Elizabeth lives out at Wedderburn a lot of the time, and Lucy's at Bibbulun, sorry, which is down near the border, isn't it? Or over the border?
Well, no, it's in New South Wales, but just this side of the border.
Can you tell us about that and how important it is to your work, or if it's important?
Oh, well, it's over 50 years ago that I
And how did it come about?
It
The
came
whole
about
Wedderburn thing?
because I had friends who had land on there. They had 150 acres, and I was looking for a place in the country for a studio, and I wasn't even thinking of Wedderburn. But Barb from Marlis phoned me after I'd been out there for a visit and said, Nick and I would like to give 10 acres for artists to have studios, and that's what happened. It was an incredible thing.
And who were the other artists?
Roy Jackson, John Pearce, Fred Brown, and Joe Brazel. And some of them are not with us anymore, but we have other artists working there, which is good, other younger artists. And it's been the greatest gift there. I just love it very much. That bush.
Okay, I had to go, first of all, my folks were at Hartley, and I built, well, first of all, Sydney's too expensive to have a decent studio space. And when I first finished art school, I was painting in my terrace house in Surrey Hills, little works that I could stick together to make bigger works. Then the folks bought land at Hartley, so I built big coloured shed at Hartley where I was there for just sort of, 15 years painting in that studio. And then just close to 20 years ago I moved down to we had friends down on the Monero and I was visiting them, and I found my place which was for sale that just seemed to suit me. So I built a big shed down there. So the main thing about country is that you have space, and the thing that I was when I was in Surrey Hills was, a dropping centre for mothers of babies, because it's too social. It's too many. There's too many people who, when you're working at home, who can just come along. Yeah, there's nothing like just being in the country and having space to work, your own time and lots of space.
Yeah.
And a lot cheaper. You don't have to buy coffees and go out to lunch. and also, I lived around the corner from Ray Hughes, who always wanted to have a beer every afternoon. That got me away from that.
Is it important for your work, to be close to that subject matter? Because obviously a lot of your work's about the and the animals and...
Oh, for me, 100%. Everyone's different, and we might all be artists, there's loads of artists here today, But everyone paints a different subject for a different reason, and I paint subjects what are basically about me in my life, and I create my own subjects to paint. I'm really into the garden, so when I'm planting something out, I'm always thinking about how I'm going to paint it. Yeah, and also I do animal rescue. I've always collected animals. I hope I'm not an animal hoarder. But, and they also are, because I'm with them all the time, they've become a good subject for my painting.
Do they tell you when the work's not so good?
No, they tell me when to finish. Let's go. It's lunchtime, Luce. Let's get out of here.
And I know you've had dogs for a long time too, Elizabeth. Are they kind of important to you as companionship?
Well, they have been, but I haven't had a dog now for a few years, unfortunately. Yes, I've had dog myself. Yeah.
And obviously you've done a lot of dog paintings as well.
Well,
The dogs
dogs
appear.
That shape,
It's a good shape. It's a lovely shape.
And
Horse shapes are good too.
yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about teaching, because you both have taught, but I think what's more important is the relationship you've kept up with former students or people that have worked, maybe attended masterclasses and things. And I find both of you two incredibly supportive of those people. You've formed relationships with them and helped them out and continue to help them out. Can you talk about that, how important you think that is in terms of how you find that relationship?
Oh, yeah, wonderful. In a way, it's a dialogue and with the people you're teaching, and I've always enjoyed that a lot. And also, I've got friends now from all the years of teaching, so that's been very wonderful.
Yeah, well, you just make friends. Likewise, like-minded people, and they become friends more than, just if they've been your painting student, you end up going out painting with them, and therefore, bingo, they've become friends. And you become interested, when you know each other's work, you get interested in the work, and you can see the work and see how it progresses, whether it's your style of work or not. You get attracted to that and like to see where it goes. I love to see where painters are. It's hard to paint. To find the time and make the time and be a painter is, it's a lot easier to do the washing up or, go out to lunch than make a painting. So anyone who does paint is brilliant, and I love to support anyone who does that.
Do you get a lot out of the interaction as well?
Yeah, I get friendships mainly. Yeah.
But
I live in my own world. I just paint what I paint. I'm not influenced by anyone else. When they talk about who are my influences, I'd say no one. There's painters that I like, but I just paint my subjects in the way that my paint comes out of my brush.
What about you, Elizabeth? Do you feel you get something from that interaction, the teaching interaction?
I think so over the years, yes, I do, yeah. There's, as I said, there's a dialogue in some ways too. Yeah, not just me teaching.
I sort of sometimes I think I've found that you will tell students to do so. You say, you shouldn't procrastinate, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that. When in actual fact you think, oh, but hang on, I do that. You actually realise that, it's like you see faults in other people that are actually yourself. I don't know, but obviously that's just me as well. I think I'm going to come to your classes. No, no, it is hard. It is hard, isn't it? Sometimes people think it's easy, and especially when they see artists, like Elisabeth and Lucy, that just don't seem to have any doubt, and they don't seem to sort of, just seem to go for it, and you think, how do they do that? And I guess that is one of my questions. It's a question I always like. Do you have doubt about your work?
Yes.
What are the doubts?
Oh, just, well, they're multiple, one has it's always getting through doubts and then going on. That's what I see. Just continuing. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that it's healthy to doubt your work, because painting is always problem solving. So when you start a painting, it's what am I going to paint? How am I going to paint it? How am I going to make it look like what I want it to look like? So the whole thing is hard. So when you're actually making it, you're fighting with resolving problems. So you're not very happy with it. It's all very doubtful, I think. And it's not until after. And it never comes out, the preconceived idea of what your painting's going to look like, it's never, I always think, oh, it's okay, but that's not what I have in mind. But then you go away and you forget all your doubts and all your problems, and then hopefully you come back and the painting's resolved.
I'd just like to make a statement based on the notion of confidence in work as a person who's observed the artists I work in. And I've always thought of Elisabeth's strategy to embrace doubt in the action of making. There's a lot of painters in particular work this way, because I've observed a lot of painters and then had to try and work out ways to facilitate that methodology into a different medium which isn't as flexible as forgiving. So Elisabeth as a painter will accommodate doubt by being able to change and scrape and remove and rework. The medium of the painting itself allows for that, and you certainly embrace that. We've often described your practice as dithering away until you come to a solution. And that's part of the benefit for Elisabeth's practice in terms of working through a medium that is inflexible, like etching, is that she has to synthesize many of her painting strategies and simplify them to make them work as etchings, which sometimes feeds back into your painting practice. Yeah. So being open to doubt for Elisabeth is crucial to her work, because it gives her the creative room to reinvent herself and bring that experience back into her painting.
Yeah, that's
very important. Great. We're at that funny time of the year where there's prizes happening. You know, I just wondered what you two think about that whole notion of prizes and, you know, the Archibald and the Win and the Silman, and what are your thoughts on prizes and how important they are?
Well, I think the Archibald, Win and Silman are given too much importance, because, you know, they're sort of lauded as the best event in Australia. But I've got nothing against prizes. I really like them.
What's your experience has been like with prizes? Were you happy when you won? Did you think they helped you?
They're good in that sense, but I haven't been in any prizes for quite a long time, but I've got nothing against them.
Have you been rejected from prizes?
Oh, yes.
Well, I think people don't realise that, you are rejected all the time, and
that's all part of it. If you don't take them too seriously.
Well, we all say we won't take it seriously, and then we do.
I hate rejection. But I also know that the Archibald Prize is, everyone goes to see it, all the public. It's the most public prize. So you got to man up and have a go every now and then to go in there. Because if you're hung in anywhere in that Archibald, Win and Silman, it's so much better than your own commercial dealers. So much better. It just is.
I didn't say that.
But your dealer helps you get you in there. You know, they help me with my paperwork. so I can get my paintings there. I've been rejected the last couple of years from the Archibald Prize, so I'm a hater.
You just didn't need to. Normally artists don't, they just say, oh no, I didn't need to this year.
So I haven't got an Archibald entry this year, but I am entering the Win and the Sulman Prize, and I'm going to try to not take that personally.
Yeah, they are funny, weird things sometimes. Yeah.
You and won the Archibald Prize.
Oh, what, this year? That's what I've won it. Yeah, I'm not even entering it. My expectations are up already.
No, you ticked that box.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Still, yeah, anyway, we must worry about it. I mean, I guess in terms of, it is sort of kind of interesting that you get a painting in the Archibald or Wynne or Sulman and so many people see it. I guess that is the reason why most artists will say they're entering it, to get people to see it, see their work.
That's why I hate competition. I hated competition as a kid. Any sport, any game, yuck, I never did it. I hate the anxiety that goes with it. So an art prize has so much anxiety, so I tend not to go in prizes. It just hurts me.
On another level, what do you think is the importance of exhibiting your work? This exhibition now.
Right, it pays for my lifestyle.
Champagne lifestyle.
Buys my dog food.
No, just in terms of exhibiting, do you like it? Is it an important thing? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is for a lot of artists, maybe it's enough just to do the work and stick it in a box under the bed.
The bed would be too high. There would be nowhere to sleep.
Some people's beds start high even though they show the work comes back.
Look, as a living artist, it is really important to exhibit, and if you can sell, it's just fantastic because the money just goes back into making more work, so that we don't have to have a cleaning job or a bar job or some other teaching job. So you can just put all your time into your practice, your thinking, working time, and that I think makes for a better practice.
Do you enjoy having an exhibition on? Do you enjoy the
Yeah, I love it because I'm generally antisocial down south, and it is really lovely to catch up with people when I have a show. It's like having a 21st every couple of years, and I think that's really good. And I love people to see what I'm up to. I really, as a living practicing artist, I think having a commercial show is very important.
I agree with Lucy, yes.
How do you feel at an opening, Elizabeth? Do you look? Is it an experience you look forward to, or is it sort of you just have to get through it? Or?
Have you ever not gone to an opening?
No, I've not gone. I'm very appreciative of people coming, but I do find it a bit of a strain. Yeah.
I think you both would agree with the love that the support you've got from people and that feedback is pretty amazing, isn't it? Really?
It is totally.
It's pretty neat, and I guess we would all we need your support basically. That kind of completes the work in a way, doesn't it? People see it and like it. I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. I've got a couple of quick questions. I'm hoping that we're going to get lots of questions from the audience. I was wondering what you feel, two last questions from me, what you feel has been your greatest achievement. Is that a kind of an exhibition or a prize, or is it in the painting, or, I mean, it's one of those sort of stupid questions people ask you that I'm going to ask you.
Right, I won the Mossman Prize when I was just out of art school, and that was fantastic because it was a huge, at that point, cash injection, and I could build the studio at my parents' place at Hartley. So that just turned me into painting in a basement in Surrey Hills into making a big space. that's what changed. Yeah, that was my catalyst.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm very grateful for the support I've had from Randy and Robin, Amanda.
Politically, a very good answer. Very good answer. You notice that Lucy didn't say that, did she? Wasn't that much important achievement?
No, that's
She's out of the gallery.
And also from Michael and other friends who helped, yeah.
I'll save that as another question.
Well, there was probably a more appropriate question to answer that. But still, I can't think of another.
How long have you both shown this thing on with him? I know Elizabeth, you
Long time.
yeah, how long?
Don't know, they know.
They'd know, yeah. How long has it been, Randy?
30, going on 32 years.
35.
And both me and Lucy are newcomers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love coming to this gallery. When I was in art school,
All right, thank you.
when I was at the National Art School, it was College Sydney, and I was at Miss TAFE and I did the diploma. And King Street was in Burton Street, and I used to go in there, and Amanda used to make me coffee. So I've always loved the King Street gallery.
Good answer.
Ray used to make me coffee. He brought me beers once I was there, but not before.
I think it's true that some galleries are much more commercially focused, they're much more as a business. I know, I won't mention names, but some galleries, they prefer you not to really hang around. They like, what are you doing hanging around? We're selling the work, get out, whereas that's not the case here. And they're always incredibly supportive. If you come, they'll make you a cup of coffee, and all you guys too. You get a free coffee here. Didn't I say actually? No, I'll be out. Okay, my last kind of question, and it follows on really from the teaching thing, the masterclass thing. If there was a piece of advice you want to pass on to someone, what do you think it would be? The most important thing about the whole bloody art world thing and what you're doing, and what would be that advice that you'd like them to follow?
oh, but as I said before, really just following one's own dream, really following one's own instincts and desires to work. And if one's lucky to get the support one has,
Yeah, I would say it's really hard to, you've got to find your own time and make your own time just to do your practice, because, don't practice your mistakes.
I'll ask you Michael too, because really interesting good things. Or is it?
That is a hard one. There's a lot of things that are important in terms of sustaining a practice. One, the love for doing it. I think that's really evident in both Lucy and Elizabeth's work. It's called artistic practice for a reason, because you're right, you have to be able to do the work and keep doing the work and learn from each particular
One
conclusion.
idea leads to the next idea.
I suppose on one level I come back to the difficulties and challenges of an artistic practice. Often it's solitary, often it's challenging, financially difficult. When you're supported and you have the love in the room like you guys have, it becomes very evident that in the challenging times of artistic practice, the outcome of your careers and ongoing careers is that it's obvious you guys are elite, indefatigable athletes of the imagination. You're remarkable, and long may that be.
I would Michael said though, and I think we'll ask these two if they agree, but I don't think any of that matters when you're in the studio on your own and you're working on the painting. You're only as good as the painting you're working on. You know, any of that shit just, you know, fades out when you're struggling on the next canvas. I mean, you agree?
Oh, yes, totally.
Just as well. Hey, I'd really love it if we could have questions from the audience. I'm pretty deaf. Michael's totally deaf.
It's got good hearing.
Okay, so just sort of shout them out to us.
I'd like to ask about how you feel when prints come out, because you're painting in reverse. You know, working with you in the studios, it's Carl with Michael, and seeing these works you've done, and seeing on the film how you've done works, you're putting layer upon layer upon layer, and it's all turned upside down, but it comes out beautifully.
Can people hear that question? It's about, basically, it's about prints. Obviously, they are reversed. When they're printed, they're shown in reverse. And how does Elizabeth feel about that?
Oh, I think if the composition is satisfactory, working enough, working well enough, it should be all right. Reverse.
It's never an issue for you. You don't.
I don't even worry or think about it.
Just do it.
I just do it, and then, and if it works that way, one hopes it'll work.
Other questions?
So you work on the painting pretty well.
There's going to be a printmaking workshop at my place with Michael coming up.
I tell you what, it is fun, and anyone that goes on, and they all they want to come on the next one, and next one, and then it just gets bigger than Ben Hur. I tell you that, it's, you know,
So it hasn't happened for a while.
we haven't had any for a while. We're not going to tell you about the next one. We're going to do one next week. No, there is a fantastic trip coming up to Greece and Crete, which will be just like amazing. So you do go on those trips and you think, shit, this is why I was doing it. This is why I'm doing it. That's my reason. Sorry. Tia at the back.
I have a question without coming too political. It is Women's History Month, and it also is month of International Women's Day. Subtle plug. Lucy is the only female Australian artist to be in the Archibald Brennan Stallman in the same year as a finalist in 2016. That is yet to happen for anyone else. The subject matter sitter across those prizes. So I guess my question is, do you feel a degree of pressure as an individual or as an individual artist that is at odds with your role as a woman in society? And like you said, I think artists do the emotional labor for the rest of society that we refuse to do. Do you feel that pressure?
I know. No, look, I just, my life is just, I just do what I want to do. I have nothing, I'm such not a normal woman. Sorry. I chose not to have a family, you know, because of my art practice. And my art practice became, you know, but my art practice has ended up feeding my family because I've ended up with all these animals. So it sort of worked in reverse. But we all live differently, and it was great to be in the Archibald Brennan Stallman. And I thought, you beauty, next year I'll win it. Well, the next year I was rejected. It doesn't, there's no sort of, doesn't give you anything. It's, you know, it's a high at the time. It's like what you say about making an artwork. You're only as good as your last one. I've got, you know, that if I don't paint for a week, I feel like I'm a loser.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you both speak a little bit about what your daily process is? What does it look like?
So that question was, can you both speak about your daily process?
I have routine. I get up, Jamie, my partner, is in earthwork, so he's up and out the door. I have coffee with him at 6, and I make up my animal feeds. He goes to work. I feed all my animals and do the animal duties. I have my breakfast. I might wash up, and I'm in the studio by 9, and I have my dog company, and then I paint till lunchtime, and then I go up and we have lunch, and I feed some more animals, and then I decide whether I'm back in the studio that afternoon to do more painting. But I'm brightest in the morning, so all my practice, all my painting happens, and that's 7 days a week. I don't have a weekend. But weirdly I have a beer on a Friday night. And then I choose in the afternoon whether I keep, and it depends on mainly painting deadlines. If I've got a show coming up, then I definitely will do another 2 or 3 hours painting. Otherwise I will maybe garden or do some animal tour or something, ride a horse. And then I do my animal feeds, and then at night I never paint at night. I only paint in natural daylight. So I don't do. I might do some drawing at night if I feel like it. But that's every day except for today.
Well, that's wonderful. I used to have a bit of a routine. Now I do a lot of sleeping and reading and not much painting. I'm sorry.
Well, you work pretty hard on Fridays, I've got to say.
Save it all for Fridays. Yeah.
Pretty
I hope I'm still painting when I'm 90.
More questions, please. Come on. You will come. Yep.
I know it's not about you, but can you just compare the way you work?
No, because it's not about me. No, it is interesting because I always used to feel incredibly embarrassed because people would always say, "Oh, last night I didn't sleep and I painted until the sun came up and I didn't even notice," and I was thinking, "Fuck, I never did that." But I do work very, very quickly, and I do nap myself pretty fast.
And now you've got grandkids, and that takes time.
And we were talking about this with a friend the other night, and I was saying, I hate that idea that art takes over your life to the point where, I haven't got time for the grandchildren, you take them away or something like that. And you just think, that just seems like it's awful. The art has taken over your life to that point. What's your art become about? It becomes about art, or it goes up its own, wherever it goes. So I don't know, I'm not as embarrassed about the amount of work that I do now because I do a lot of work, but I don't necessarily, I'm not painting all the time, although I probably am thinking about it a lot. And I do get told, you're not supposed to take your paints on holidays, but can't imagine anything worse. So anyway, that's enough about me. We want more questions from these two. Do we?
Yeah.
I've got a question for Michael. What do you think the future of printmaking holds? What direction it's travelling in?
Good question. Sad question.
It is a difficult and challenging question. I've taught in academia for many years and really struggled. So printmaking is not positioned well in basically most of our institutions. That's pretty devastating for me. But people hop up wanting to do it in other ways. So I think there's a desire to do it. The fact that I work with so many artists who don't normally have printmaking as part of their practice, wanting to do it, tells me that it's not that printmaking isn't fashionable, and it does ride fashion, but it's not fashionable at the moment. You just have to bring the artists and the medium together, because magic will happen, and magic often does happen when artists are given a challenge or have a new experience. So I like to be an optimist, and I like to see a future for the disciplines in which I've dedicated my life to. And that's why I continue to work at home, inviting artists to come in. But it's even more exciting being invited to Lucy's home. And I don't know if you've seen the video of Lucy's, I'm assuming they show it here,
Yes.
And a wonderful video.
It's on right now.
A
There's my
beautiful-
emus.
A beautiful home, and the fact that there's potentially going to be a print workshop set up there is for me really affirming that there's enough people who want to do it. Will do it. Thank you.
No, I mean, I think it is incredibly sad that both me and Elisabeth talk about it all the time, and someone with Michael's knowledge is kind of being relegated to the scrap heap. Well, to the point where he's not even doing his own prints anymore, he's doing bonsais. I'm now offending the bonsai people. Boy, he's got so much to give. We, both me and Elisabeth, used to have absolute fun, didn't we, with all the students. I guarantee they got a lot out of it, because they got to see us working. You'd get some of the artists, the visiting artists were total procrastinators, would be sort of wandering around totally lost, weren't they? They didn't quite know how to function. It was, what, you want me to draw on the plate in front of all these people? What, really? Interesting.
Everyone's different.
Yeah, just everyone's different. But that's what the students see too.
Yeah.
They see that everyone's different, and they kind of see that it's all okay. Yeah, kind of, and just a bit of a sad thing, really. More questions, or are we supposed to be ending up? I think we're over an hour, aren't we?
Yeah. So I bet there are probably a lot more questions, but you can ask them privately. So I just want to thank you first and foremost for everyone for coming and attending. We're very appreciative of your continual visiting to the gallery. So thank you for that. And of course, thank Michael, Euan, Elisabeth, and Lucy, who very
Thanks everyone for coming. It's amazing seeing so many people.